it stands out so big that it would probably, I'd have to sit and think for a while to think of what else there would be that's a smaller threat than that. But to me, it's what it is.
Oh, okay. So this section, Terry, is the section that I'm talking about. That the next three sections actually will be talking about jobs and economic development activity on our land. And I'll be going through this list one by one and asking questions about how important is it that TRTF can get jobs in commercial fishing? And you can answer using any one of these headings in the right-hand side of each of the
So you just
for the
say
list of
very
things that we have
important
here.
down to don't support that activity. So just choose one of those responses for each job activity.
Okay.
So we start with the first one.
And then I'm also going to ask for commercial fishing activity in any of these other areas for you to mark it out on the map. Okay, and then the third thing we're going to be asking is about the management ideas that you would have around commercial fishing. What kind of ideas would you have for us to manage commercial fishing, or for people to manage commercial fishing? So we'll get started. How important is it that the TRTFN get jobs in commercial fishing?
I would have to go with very important.
Okay.
I think it's very important that we do, and as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. You know, the more TRT members go fishing, the better off it would be.
Yeah.
And if we can get more licenses and just expand down there, it would be the best we can.
Could you mark out where the commercial fishing activity would take place?
That I see, or that they already have boundaries.
I guess you could talk about any areas that you think would be good for commercial fishing. Existing ones and other areas that you also think would be good. I think you can include.
Okay, we're talking about commercial fishing, and I think that the best part of the whole commercial fishery is exactly what DFO picked out right up here, the Yellow Bluff. And I don't think it should go any further beyond that because of the spawning grounds. And the spawning, you'll be interfering more with the spawning beds if you went up further. And the best part of the fishing is right down here, right down against the border. And that, to me, is the best part of the whole fishing, commercial fishing, is right there. Just when they come over their border, and the reason for that is it's exactly like what my father said when we first started fishing down there. We were the first ones down there in 1980. And there's only one channel that comes over the border, and after that it spreads out. So that is the best part, and the most fish that's going to be coming through is right there in that channel. Because there's only one channel that comes over the border. And then after that it just spreads out everywhere. So the fish could swim up any channel after that. So that's the reason why we started fishing down there. He said we're going to fish right here because there's only one channel thing, and they spread out after this. And he said, and besides, what we don't catch, they could have.
That's smart. Could you label that capital EB?
Right here?
Yeah. Okay, great. Do you have any ideas about how commercial fishing could be managed?
I think there should be a place where just the natives should be able to fish and not involve the non-native, because they're they're the people that cause all the hassles for native fishermen. And as far as the commercial fishing regulations go, there's really not much more I can add to what's already there. Their boundaries are all set up in good places because that is where the spawning happens. But I can see commercial fishing and having more fish in the river being helpful and to everybody. And there's ways of doing it, but the Canadian government and the U.S. government, to me, is going about it all the wrong way. So I can see better ways of dealing with things in a more natural setting, which would enhance the wild stock that is already there, and it's not interfering with the wild stock like their enhancement is doing. It's not a threat to the wild stock. The enhancement that I would like to see happen on the watershed of the TRT is no threat to the wild stock. The enhancement of DFO and ADF and G is a threat.
So what kind of enhancement would you like to see? What sorts of ideas do you have as far as...
I would like to see... okay, I'll start out with just what ADF and G and DFO are all about. They take eggs out of Little Trapper and or Big Trapper in Tatsamini Lake, and they fly those over to their hatchery, and they keep them there for a year or so until they're smolts, and then they take them out back to the lake where they got them from, and they dump them in the lake, expecting these fish to survive. These fish don't know how to survive. They come from one environment and they get dropped right into the lake. You might as well just be feeding fish to the animals that are in that lake. They don't know how to protect themselves from predators or anything. And yet they think that these fish are going to survive, and their survival rate is so little to none that they're even ashamed to share the data when they sit at the table. I mean, it's just, and it's in the few fish that do make it back is a very small percentage. And not only that, but this is how fish pick up viruses and whatnot from the hatchery, and they would end up bringing that back to the wild stock, and it would be sitting in the habitat of the lakes and all the spawning grounds, and it would just kill the wild stock. And all it takes is one bad fish, and that's it. It's spread everywhere then. I've always said, and I've always believed that, even when I was sitting in management of fisheries, that the answer lies within our land. They spend millions on top of millions of dollars building this hatchery, hiring people and scientists and biologists to try and figure it out and try and do and go out there and spend all millions on top of millions on these fish hatcheries, when all they should be doing is cleaning up the habitat. I mean, for an example, you look into places like Nakana Lake, King Salmon Lake, Little Trapper, Big Trapper. Okay, just to mention those 4 lakes, they were the biggest spawning grounds, wild stock spawning grounds that were the most abundant